The spending review, Johnson speaks to Santa, and German gate crashing. This is your TLDR News daily briefing for Wednesday the 25th of November. This is the 97th daily briefing we've ever made, meaning that Monday will be the 100th episode. So to celebrate, we're doing a live stream that goes through the 100 weirdest, craziest and funniest news stories of 2020. If you want to watch it, then click the link in the description and hit the bell icon to be notified when the event goes live. Thank you so much for your support. In the first story of the daily briefing today, we look at Chancellor Rishi Sunak's spending review that was announced to the Commons today. It's no surprise that the pandemic has caused a huge amount of economic turmoil, with many jobs being lost and a reduction in pay across the private sector. It should therefore come as no surprise that the spending reviews start with an overview of how the economy's looking, and future predictions was not all that positive. The Office for Budget Responsibility has shown that the economy will contract by 11.3% by the end of the year, the largest decline in the last 30 years. Additionally, it will take until the end of 2022 to get the economy back to the size it was pre-pandemic. Clearly, neither of these things are positive, and the scale is truly difficult to comprehend. Many watching this may be asking how this relates to them personally, and what it means for them and their finances. Well, the Chancellor announced that in order to make up for the huge amount of borrowing that's already been done, public sector wages will need to be frozen, meaning that there'll be no increase in pay for public sector workers this year. There was, however, one exception. The 1 million nurses and doctors working in the NHS will not see their wages frozen next year. Additionally, those who earn less than £24,000 a year in the public sector will be guaranteed an increase of their earnings by at least £250. Clearly, the Chancellor is trying to ensure that the lowest earners, and that some of the hardest working in society, nurses and doctors, are not the ones who are paying the price for locking down because of the pandemic. On a different note though, the Chancellor did announce that overseas aid would be slashed. It's been reduced to 0.5%, as he claimed a higher figure was hard to justify to the British people during the economic crisis we're currently facing. He claims that he intends for the figure to be increased back to 0.7% when the fiscal situation allows. We'll leave it up to you to determine what you make of the spending review announced today. In the second story, we stay in England to look at the measures announced by the Prime Minister yesterday that allow families to spend some time together over Christmas. These measures were largely what we expected, from leaks and reports from journalists over the last week. The government has announced a plan to allow what is now being known as Christmas bubbles to meet in the 5 days between the 23rd and 28th of December. These bubbles will be limited to 3 exclusive households, meaning that a household can be in one bubble only. There's no restriction on the overall number of people in that bubble, and support bubbles will be counted as only one household. In addition to this, households are allowed to split. In effect, this means that a group of 4 young adults living together can go home and form their own bubbles, and then return to live together after the 5-day period. These rules were agreed on by the UK government and all 3 devolved governments, meaning the rules will be applied across the entire UK, and borders shouldn't be a concern when families reunite. While some are pleased to know that Christmas isn't cancelled, just restricted, others will make the argument that the government's actions have gone too far and will cost lives. While many have made comparisons between the coronavirus and previous world wars, it should be borne in mind that there will be no true Christmas truce. The virus will continue its indiscriminate killing throughout the winter period, and scientists are fully aware of this, with some concern that this 5-day window could see an increased third wave. It's up to you to decide whether you think this is a responsible move from the government. But before we move on, we thought it'd be good to end this story on a positive note. One 8-year-old wanted to ask the Prime Minister about the rules, specifically whether Santa would be able to visit, with the child making clear his intention to leave hand sanitizer by the chimney. The Prime Minister responded, clarifying that he made a call to the North Pole today and confirmed that Santa is still intending to continue as usual this Christmas. He added that the Chief Medical Officer confirmed that Santa could continue if he behaves responsibly. We'll update you on this story regarding Christmas as it develops. In the final story today, we discuss the unusual news around a German gatecrasher. Earlier today, a man drove his car at a low speed into the gates of Angela Merkel's federal chancellery building in Berlin. On one side of the car was a message calling for the end of globalization politics, and on the other side were the words, "You damned killers of children and old people." Both were written in German and in white paint. Ms. Merkel was not in the building at the time, and it was made clear that the incident at no time posed any serious threat to her. What makes this story baffling is that the same man involved with the crash was also involved in a similar incident back in 2014. That time, he crashed into the same gate with a call to end climate change on one side of the car and the words "Nicole, I love you" on the other. Due to both incidents, the police are trying to address whether the incident was politically motivated or whether the individual is suffering from a psychological condition. For those who think the news is too long, be sure to check out tomorrow's daily briefing. Read the newsletter by signing up at tldrnews.co.uk/daily. Listen to the briefing by searching for TLDR News in your podcast app, or watch the briefing over at youtube.com/TLDR Daily.